Today on the channel, we're all buzzing with excitement for the latest retro release from Epic Toys. It's B. Brian Blair, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell, the Killer Bees.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another Epic Toys retro style wrestling figure unboxing and review. And today on the channel, we got the Killer Bees, B. Brian Blair, and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. But of course, for all your Epic Toy needs, hit up Figure Collections, use discount code Kyle, save yourself 10%, gotta get a deal out there. And of course, we're gonna do this review like we do all the other reviews on the channel. We're gonna take a look at the packaging, we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna unbox it, we're gonna talk about it. We're going to see where it goes from there. And what can you say about the Killer Bees? Been a heck of a long time since we've got figures of them, going all the way back to the Jakks Classic Superstars days. Got two different incarnations back then. And of course, way back when, we got the LJN varieties of the Killer Bees. And B. Brian Blair, of course, great friend of the Iron Sheik, as many do know. And I'll never forget, I was a part of witnessing B. Brian Blair's final wrestling match ever. His last match he ever wrestled was against good friend of the channel, good friend of mine, personal friend, old Jumpin' James Jeffries. So shout out James Jeffries if he's watching this. He did wrestle Brian Blair in his last match, so that was pretty cool. And then Jim Brunzell, one of the high flyers, of course, with one Greg Gagne, good friend of the channel, Greg Gagne, as we do know. We'll never forget, of course, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell with his amazing drop kick. But I will say, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell and Greg Gagne turned my dad away from wrestling forever. Dad saw them when he was a kid in college and just said, you know, this wrestling is not on the up and up. There's no way this Greg Gagne and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell are going to be able to do this kind of stuff. So wild times for my dad, wild times for us, and of course, wild times with the Killer Bees. So a lot of cool stuff with these Killer Bees. A few things we're going to question, but we're going to dive into it right here. So let's begin. Let's see what's going on. The old Killer Bees right there. Now, love the packaging. Yellow, black, can only mean one thing. I mean, it writes itself at this point. Of course, the Killer Bees, huge Stryper fans, huge. I'm surprised Michael Sweet doesn't play them to the ring back in the day. It's just a match made in heaven, the old Killer Bees and Stryper. But they got their Stryper tribute gear on. Pretty darn cool, if you ask me. Yellow and black attack at the glamour shots there. Little artwork. Of course, the two figures in the package. You got their masks. Oh, deceiving everybody. Using a little twin magic in some ways, you could say. Glamour shots down here. Got their names. Got Epic Toys. Nothing on the sides, of course, but on the back, look at that cross-sell. The cross-sell grows. We've been doing a lot of unboxings of these on the channel. QR code, got the file card down low. Let's see what it says about these Killer Bees. B. Brian Blair, height 6'1", 235 pounds, from Tampa, Florida. Jumpin' Jim Brunzell, 5'10", 235 pounds, from White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Beautiful this time of year. I'll be up there in 2 weeks from now. Shout out to White Bear Lake. It says, exciting fan favorites, Blair and Brunzell caused a buzz in the late 80s. The Bees were able to outsmart many opponents and referees using their signature tactic, masked confusion. Not twin magic, masked confusion. And it worked. Those bees are crazy. They're just looking for that queen bee at the end of the day. They're looking for that queen bee. There's no doubt about it. Wrestling megastars right here. Looking very, very good. No issues on the back. I love the packaging. Love a good cross-sell. I will say one nitpicky thing for this one. Now, I did get the demolition. Unfortunately, my demolition can crack, so that really sucked. But don't have any cracking on this one. That is nice. But I wish these would stand just like this. Unfortunately, they will not stand. They need to carve that lip out. Make it stand flat if you want to. If I want to put this on a shelf, not everybody wants to hang these. And as you can see, you can't even hang these either. There's no J-hook on these. So there's really no way to display this. I don't know what you got to do. And now feeling around, unfortunately, I'm cracked on this one too. So man, that's a real bummer being cracked, because I do save the packagings on these resealable ones, and they were cracked. So Demolition was cracked, Killer Bees was cracked. I'm just finding that out right there. So hard times for old Kyle. Hard times. Pour one out for me, somebody. Anybody got one to pour out? Should I? Do I dare pour out this monster? Do I dare? Monster, why aren't you supporting the channel yet? This channel fueled on Monster. Of course, all good Kyle's fueled on Monster. We're going to work on that sponsorship. I know some people that work for Monster for a living. They're in the circle, and I need to touch base and say, well, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? I talked to somebody at Monster one time. Long story short, I said, hey, I'm Kyle. I'm fueled by Monster. I run a YouTube channel. How about a little sponsorship? And I don't even need money. Just give me my Monster for free. How about that? That would save me a lot of money at the end of the day. I only like the white can, though. The rest is poison. Yeah, it's all poison. Trust me. Just drink the white can. But Monster said, no, we love you. You sound like a cool dude. And I said, well, yeah, you're right. I'm a pretty cool dude. But they said that they only sponsor, like, video game athletes. Get out of here. Get out of here with those video game athletes. And then extreme athletes, like BMX bike and skateboard riding. And then I told them my story about my skateboard getting stolen, and they said they'd get back to me, and I haven't heard back. So shout out to Monster. Let's get this deal done. Let's get it done. Let's the ink signed. We got 5-year anniversary of the channel around the corner. Let's get the ink signed for that. I'm waiting, Monster. I'm waiting. But let's dive into these, and we're going to dive into B. Brian Blair. I always felt Brian Blair was the leader of the team. I could be wrong, but he always felt like the leader to me. Always had that wacky hairdo, too. It's like curly at the back end. Very cool hair on Brian Blair. Straight up top, curly on the ends. Living that dream, and of course, living that 80s dream with the mustache. Looking very good. Of course, one of the Hulkster's running buddies back in the Tampa days. Hanging and banging in Tampa, as we do know. But Brian Blair looking pretty good, and I think he was like on the city council or something like that down there in Tampa. So shout out to Brian Blair. Looking fabulous, this figure, though. I always love the shine to these guys, the feel to these guys. Always look very, very nice. You got the striped wristbands going on there, a little white tape on the hands. Got the striped trunks on them as well. The yellow and black attack goes down to the boots, the black knee pads as well. Looks like Brian Blair from the Killer Bees, there's no doubt about it. Now, arms do go all the way around, head back and forth, waist articulation, and that is all she wrote at the end of the day. Now, you do get the accessory here. It is his mask, so it's going to be mask confusion once again. I don't understand why Epic Toys didn't go the Demolition route. Very strange to me. Demolition had the magnetic heads you could take back and forth. Why didn't they do the same thing with this, have this as a magnetic head instead of soft goods? I would have rather seen the magnetic head. It would have been consistent with the line. And soft goods, not always the easiest to get on the heads, as we do know. And of course, will get stretched out if you leave it on. So some good, some bad, some ugly with these figures. Is I'm not even able to get this on him. I'm going to have to play with this offline. I mean, it's not as easy. You can't just slide this bad boy on like you think you'd be able to. It is nice soft goods, but I would have preferred the magnetic heads between these two right here. But not in the cards for whatever reason. But Brian Blair looking pretty good. It's been a while since we got Brian Blair figure. But now we dive over to old Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. Say what you want about old Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. One of the best drop kicks ever in wrestling. A lot of people remember him of my generation. A lot of them maybe missed the Killer Bees just barely. I came to the Killer Bees, I think, right before they were gone, basically. And I remember Jumpin' Jim Brunzell more as enhancement talent, kind of like an Iron Mike Sharp, a guy with a name on the good side, like a young Tim Horner maybe. That's what I thought of with Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. But if you were an AWA fan way back in the day, or of course Killer Bees fan, you maybe think a little higher of Jumpin' Jim all these years later. But Jumpin' Jim's got that Minnesota smile. Minnesota nice, am I right? Those Minnesotans up there. He's got those big old teeth, but man, Minnesotans, one thing they love to do, brush their teeth. Those cold winter nights, they're stuck at home, they got nothing to do. They just brush their teeth like 4 or 5 times a day. Anybody from Minnesota out there? I know I got Minnesota friends watching. You guys fact check that, but I think you guys got some beautiful teeth up there in Minnesota. But looking good there. Of course, got that wavy 80s hair. And Jumpin' Jim Brunzell always had that smile on his face. Always a happy guy, just like myself. If you have a positive attitude at life, things will work out in the end for you. So you're always smiling. You're always smiling, Kyle. I'm a smiley guy. What can I say? Just like a young Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. Got the white wrist tape. Got the 2 fists of Brunzell Fury. And you don't want that Fury on you. You don't want it. It's like a bee getting on you is what it exactly is. Got the striped pants down here, or the trunks more like it, like a young Michael Sweet. And I think that's Michael Sweet's underwear, if I'm not mistaken. He's got Oz Foxes on, as we know. Black knee pads, then of course the yellow and black attack on the boots. Are they the same figure on the lower half? They sure are. Same figure on the top half? Guess what? They sure are. Different heads, different arms between these two, but they both came to fight. They both got Fists of Fury ready to go. Now we do got the Greg Valentine, many other ones, of course, Owen Hart, you name it. You do got the bend at the elbow here, some extra articulation with this one. Arms all the way around, arms all the way around. Waist articulation, so the usual retro style articulation right here. Wish there was a little bit more bend in this arm. There's not a whole lot, but it is what it is. But I do at least like they gave us different arms for these two. It's basically the same figures twice. The masks are the same. Got to get the most out of your molds, and then once again, just like Demolition, these are about a $75 figure, so very, very pricey. However, they do seem to sell out, so that is a good thing. But I would love to see them make more to get the price down, and hopefully more people would buy these. It's that whole rigmarole right there. But the retro landscape, very saturated, as we do know, and not a lot of people can collect them all. I'm struggling myself at this point. Gonna have to sell a kidney before the end of the week just to afford the next round of retro releases, but we'll make it happen. We always do. But I do like the Killer Bees. I do like that they're giving us all these tag teams. Of course, Demolition, Powers of Pain, the Bulldogs. We've seen quite a few. Pretty cool to get a golden era of tag team wrestlers. Would love to see a Rock and Roll Express in this style in the future. Maybe Epic Toys can dance into that one. We'll see what ends up happening. Maybe Rockin' and Rollin', Struttin' and Strollin' in 2025 or 2026 with those. But it sounds like the next thing from Epic Toys is going to be that Barry Windham, Ric Flair. Of course, Dr. Death, Steve Williams. Very excited for that as well. So we'll pay attention. We'll see what's going on in the future after these Killer Bees. But the Killer Bees, good for what they are. Biggest gripe I got with this one, I would have liked to have the removable heads like Demolition. These are a little hard to get on there, and then they'll stretch out. We know how that goes. But I did grab another set of Killer Bees right here. We do got them from the Jakks Classic Superstars days. You guys know I'm just a classic guy. Wrote a book on it. Check it out on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and on Kindle if you want to check out more on the Classic Superstars series featuring the Killer Bees. I'm one of many in about 700 pages in that book. But pretty cool to get a new release of the Killer Bees here in 2025. And that's it. What's your thoughts on the Killer Bees? Big fans? Bigger fan of Stryper? Well, let me know in the comments down below. And of course, you made it this far. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the old notification bell. We got videos every single day, and then some. We got even more content for you, of course, over there on Patreon. Patreon, best way to support this YouTube channel and all the content it does bring. You can also head over to ProWrestlingTees.com, search Kyle Peterson. Don't forget, like I said, my book, available now, SirPaul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, Instagram, and now on TikTok. So for the Killer Bees, I'm the Killer Kyle. See you guys all real soon.